تشير أغلب الدراسات إلى أن المعتدين جنسيا على النساء هم في الغالب يعانون أمراض نفسية أو عقلية أو كلاهما ضمن أوضاع وظروف معيشية أو اجتماعية معينة، وهو ما ينطبق على أرييل كاسترو الذي قام باحتجاز واغتصاب 3 فتيات مدة 10 سنوات كاملة من غير أن يتمكن المجتمع والسلطات من الوصول إليه في الولايات المتحدة.
It's an interesting case, and as we get more information, there are so many new questions being asked, and it's impossible to know how many will be answered. But it is very interesting to note in some of the coverage that we're seeing some community members coming forward and saying, well, I made a complaint against this house years ago. I filed a domestic disturbance complaint, and it was never followed up on. The police say they have no record of that. So the question is, of course, is it that this fell through the cracks of the law enforcement system, or is this something that fell through the cracks of the community? At this point, we don't really know, but certainly it is something worth looking into if there's a possibility that this community fell through the cracks of the legal system, or if neighbors truly don't know what's going on in their neighborhood. Either one is a pretty scary possibility.
Well, this man was sick, and he said so, and he wrote a suicide note. You know, he knew he was sick, and he didn't want to be driven the way he was. Well, I can't say that because, of course, chemicals took over in his brain, and I'm not at all excusing what he did or saying that what he did was okay. But I'm saying that that's such an extreme case, and what we've been talking about here today are really issues that can be dealt with in education and culture. That is an extreme case of mental illness, and we do not address that well in this country.
في مركز المرأة بألكسندريا بولاية فيرجينيا الأمريكية يعتقد المتخصصون أنه من الضروري استباق وقوع جريمة الاعتداء الجنسي أو الاغتصاب.
If I see them maybe stumbling on a test, I'll ask, say, you know, tell me what's going on. You're usually a very good student. And sometimes they can say, I'm having issues with my family, with my dating partner, and then I can help them. I can send them to the Women's Center, and we have access to resources in the community. But that looking out for each other is important. I worry that we do a lot of fear-mongering, like, oh, stranger danger, don't talk to strangers. And the problem is that isolation actually creates vulnerability. And places like the Women's Center here offer a place where people can come together and realize they're not alone, and that if we see something, we say something. Hey, I'm concerned about you. And I think that's what we need to do more around the world, create places of community, of people caring about each other.
يؤكد المتخصصون أن حالات كثيرة من الاعتداءات الجنسية لديها ارتباط بالثقافات والتقاليد، حيث للرجل سطوة على المرأة. بعض الدول تخلصت من ذلك وبعضها ما زالت تعاني.
It was customary for the First Lady of the United States to walk 3 paces behind the president. And my mother watched, you know, she loved it, and she watched, and because Jackie Kennedy was her idol, and she was like, look at Jackie, she's 3 paces behind him, and blah, blah, blah. And yet, you know, now we don't do that, you know, look at Hillary, hello, yay, girlfriend. But the thing is, as we make these changes, we have to acknowledge the differences are still there.
مع الزمن تم التخلص من الكثير من التقاليد، ولكن ليس جميعها. تقول المتخصصة ميريليث، هناك الكثير من النساء تتسامحن أو تتناسين أو تغطين على ما يحدث لهن.
You have the presence, and you have also the phonetic and the spelling.
I've seen all sorts of things over the years, and one of the most interesting things that I see is an unfortunate culture of guilt and shaming of victims, and that's both internalized and also external. When I've met women who say, well, this was done to me, but it was probably my fault. One woman specifically, I'll never forget, told me that she was at a party and she said, well, I guess technically it was rape because I was passed out after drinking too much, but it happens. And I was shocked to hear someone say so casually, well, it happens. Technically, I guess it was rape. The fact that there wouldn't be that sense of outrage, that she wouldn't feel that she had the right to complain about being treated that way, to be treated as an object and not a conscious human being who, might not be interested in that encounter. And unfortunately, we still see that, where we blame the victim, or the victim even blames him or herself. And it is men and women, unfortunately, who are victimized.
برغم الحقوق التي تحققت للمرأة في الولايات المتحدة، إلا أن ثمة المزيد من الجهد للحد من جرائم الاغتصاب والعنف ضدها.
There are still barriers to be overcome, but I know from when I was young, seeing the differences in attitudes that existed then and now, there was a time when we would not have condemned much of the human trafficking. There was a time when we would have said, the man has a right to abuse his wife, to beat her, to force her to do things she doesn't want to do. I think now, at least in the enlightened world, most people recognize that no, that's not a healthy relationship. In most areas, women are still not equal. They are closer to being equal, but they still don't have all the protections in law that they need. There's still attitudes in society. You can eliminate de jure discrimination, but the de facto, what simply exists by social practice, continues to exist. So education and law have to work together to bring a solution to these problems.
الحكومات على اختلافها والجمعيات عبر العالم وحتى هنا في الولايات المتحدة لم تتمكن برغم المجهودات الجبارة من وقف كابوس الاعتداء الجنسي على النساء. الإحصاءات تقول إن 60% من المعتدى عليهم هنا في الولايات المتحدة هم أقل من 30 سنة، 40% أقل من 18%. أما الإحصاءات المدمية والمخيفة جدا فهي المتعلقة بكون الأمريكيين يسجلون كل ثانيتين ضحية واحدة للاعتداء الجنسي. خليل بن طويلة لليوم على الحرة من واشنطن.